Are there any hats that you kind of were excited to wear that you're not really wearing?
Um, that I'm not wearing.
Yeah, like things that maybe you thought before, like, oh, entrepreneurship is really focused on this. And then you get into
Yeah,
it and you're
yeah.
like, oh, that's like, we barely spend any time on that at all.
Well, we started off doing it. I thought for sure that it was going to be, you and me in the Fab Lab cutting shoes to pieces, recreating, re-engineering these shoes, going out and 3D printing them, finding weird materials like pineapple, mushroom, leather, or whatnot, and making the shoe out of it, and really like coming up with some like unique concept. And so we did that a lot. We were like trying to like, wear that hat of the designer and developer. And it was fun, but then we realized we weren't getting anywhere. Like we weren't making any like big strides. And we realized the learning curve was a lot steeper than, from the outside it looked like, oh man, there's so many programs set up. We can design a shoe, or we can like,
Yeah.
come up with like materials. Like, yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's a bit more challenging than that. And so like I think that's like one of the hats that I like was excited about wearing, because I was like, everybody's excited about building something new, like building something different, building something unique. And I want to get like, roll my sleeves up and start like doing this stuff. And to not be doing that, I mean, it's slightly disappointing. I still would like to go out there and do stuff like that, but like realizing that you have to kind of offload some of that to someone who is much more skilled, much more experienced in that field in order for the product to get to where you want it to get, especially in a timely manner. I think that was probably one of the hats that I was like, dang, I wanted to rock that for a bit longer, but have to give it up.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think for me, I was kind of thinking about startups the way that um like celebrities do startups. So, they get an idea, then they go to a factory and they kind of like say, this is what I want. They get the samples right away. If it's like a drink, they taste it. They're like, no, it needs to taste more like this. Or if it's shoes, they're like, no, it needs to look more like this. So I thought it'd kind of be like, we pay people, we get on a call with them, we tell them what we want, and then they're like, taking everything that we're saying into consideration, and we have a lot of say into what goes on. But
Yeah.
it's quite different from that. It's really hard to find the right people. Even when you find the right people, like they have their own ideas. A lot of times they're going to tell you no, or what you're saying is not feasible. So a lot of times they're just kind of like, you know what, this is what I do. So let me focus on this. Why don't you guys focus on the other stuff? And you're like, no, I want to, this is the stuff that's fun. Like this is the product. I want to really focus on this. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like got to focus on the strategy, community building, like I said before, getting close to the customer. And it's not always doing really fun stuff like overseeing website design or new logo or the tread pattern design or the upper design, the colors, things like that. So it's not as sexy, I would say, as it looks from the outside.
No, it's not. And you end up eating a lot of humble pie. And yeah, I get that fact that you think that you're going to be like sitting up there Peyton Manning the whole thing, like, directing things out. And turns out that's not what really happens.
Yeah,
They tell you no. You're like, bro, I don't pay you to tell me no.
I know. Yeah, that's definitely been a difficult thing where you pay someone and they tell you no, and they basically tell you that they're not going to look into it any further. And you never know if they're just saying that because they just want to get to the next contract, or if what they're
Mm,
saying is actually true. And I think we've seen examples of both sides of that.
absolutely. Absolutely.